There's an intriguing dynamic that occurs when people refuse to yield their path in a public street. You could say it's a form of social conflict. How often is it the case that you walk down the road and someone takes a beeline straight towards you? But it happens to everybody at some point in time in every city in the world. There's a number of internal reasons why people escalate to violence for such a minor infringement in the street. I mean, let's face it. Someone doesn't want to move out of your way, it doesn't warrant a violent encounter. But having some understanding to what triggers people to violence can help you, A, avoid those situations in the first place, B, identify the people that are likely to be triggered. So this week, we're going to break down one of the most common flashpoints in the street. And it happens to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, at some point in time, you're going to encounter this. So keep watching and I'll explain triggers that lead to violent encounters when you're simply walking down the street. Trigger number 1, my favorite. Some people have a strong desire to assert their ego and dominance in public spaces. People exhibit social dominance in the way that they try to control the space around them, the way that they occupy that space. And these are important signals to know. And that's a fair indicator that this person could overreact if given the opportunity. If someone perceives that their status or personal space is being challenged, they might react aggressively to regain control. It's possible that they might feel social pressure to act. Quite often when someone is with a group of people, they're more likely escalate to violence because they have to keep face in front of their friends. But these come from insecurities within the individual, but they're manifested when they're with a group of their friends. You could say it's a form of social pressure. So one thing to look out for when you're walking down the street, it's well worth taking on board the local culture and social norms, especially in the street. Because if it's the social norm to move around people rather than block their path, then perhaps it's an idea to fit in, because you don't know the capacity of violence in a strange place. And it may be the case that people are tolerant, but it may often be the case that they escalate to violence quicker. So don't take that chance. Trigger number 2, the perception of disrespect. You're dissing me. Now, modern people feel quite self-entitled, and with that comes the expectation that respect is due. So some individuals may interpret not moving out of the way as a sign of disrespect or disregard. And this perception often leads to feelings of anger and the need to defend their space or dignity. Societal and cultural norms play a big part in how people react to such situations. In some cultures, personal space and respect for people's boundaries are highly emphasized, while in others, a more relaxed attitude is the norm. Personally, I've noticed this in many different cities that I've visited around the world. Some of the bigger cities, people are more likely to walk into you, even push you out of the way. Whereas in some of the other cities that I've been to, people are more likely to avoid you. So when visiting a new city, it's important to observe the social norms, what people do and what they don't do to avoid flashpoints to violence. Trigger 3. The environment itself can lead to a number of flashpoints. Crowded streets, heat, noise. These chaotic spaces might exacerbate emotions and trigger people to violence. There is research to suggest that heat in itself leads people to be much more aggressive, let alone adding a chaotic environment. And these factors alone can lead people to act impulsively. When people are already stressed and frustrated, maybe having a bad day, minor inconveniences like someone not moving out of your way can trigger an overreaction. Their emotional state makes them more prone to confrontations. So a little bit of empathy can go a long way in avoiding a confrontation. So what's the takeaway? Remember, the key thing in self-defense is to avoid violence in the first place. Now I get it, someone steps in your path and they expect you to move out of the way. The question isn't why does it happen, but more so identifying the triggers to violent encounters, to violent action. So the most important thing in your personal safety, simply understanding the triggers, can give you an early defense in your self-protection. And it happens to everybody, including me. I can't count the amount of times when I'm walking down the high street and people just take a beeline towards me. And of course, if you add the extra element of eye contact, then of course you've got a cocktail of potential violence that can escalate out of control. Well, understanding these triggers will help you identify potential risks in the environment. But more importantly, it will help you avoid an unnecessary violent encounter. Because when you actually have to defend yourself, Make it worthwhile and on purpose why you do it. Because at the end of the day, there's no point going to prison just for some simple person who's simple-minded, who feels the need to engage in an ego battle. At the end of the day, someone doesn't move out of your path, this becomes an ego battle. And don't engage in ego battles unnecessarily. If you have to fight and defend yourself, make sure there's a reason and a purpose for it. One that you can justify, and when you are in prison, that you're happy and content that you made the right decision. Thanks for watching.